Hi, I'm Padlo. Welcome to my channel. Usually we're going to be doing welding videos, lifestyle vlogs. This one's kind of an in-between. You can see right now I'm in my suit, got some studio setting around me, and that's because I'm taking headshots for my real estate brokerage and my business cards and house signs that'll be produced and all that kind of stuff. So it's self-promotional pictures for my real estate business that I'm going to start doing, that you will be able to see and watch on YouTube me go from zero and a complete real estate noob to hero when hopefully I start selling a lot of houses and become successful in that career path as well. Go ahead and like this video down below with the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd appreciate that. And so would Elena behind the camera. So today I'm going to discuss of why you are not going to be a good welder. Yes, I'm not talking about real estate right now. I'm talking about welding while sitting here doing real estate stuff, because that is, after all, my profession right now and something that I have been doing now for nearly a decade and have excelled in and continue to excel in. So here's my advice to you that I have seen through my years of instruction and welding. Firstly, this is why you will fail at becoming a welder. You don't have a welder at home. Get a 220 plug, spend the money. There are some welders that can run on 110. I don't recommend them though. And get yourself just a single transformer, typical little welding box that I started out with. My grandpa showed up with it at our house out in the country. There was no shop. There was no business. I didn't know how to weld. I always wanted to learn how to weld though. I saw it as a career path that I could go in and excel in and make decent money in. So once Grandpa got that welder, in the summer I would go outside with just coat on. I didn't even have proper welding gear really. I had some glove I borrowed from Dad and a helmet, which was nice. But as far as like the protective gear that you see me in today, that did not exist. So I would just have a coat on and I would go out and start welding. Now this was in the summer because I was still finishing high school. So it was my summer off of school and I wasn't sitting in the house playing video games and sleeping in. I would get up early before it got too hot, even though it was still hot, and I'd bundle myself up in these old coats and I'd start practicing welding out here just around the corner. And that's how I started stick welding, with instruction from my dad, of course, which is a very good welder himself. So with some instruction and guidance by my father on how to weld and use a stick welder and safety and stuff like that, and then just my own repetition. Everything's about volume. The 10,000 hour rule, the 20,000 hour rule, whatever rules that you know of or don't know of. Basically, I'm pretty sure it's the 10,000 hour rule that it takes you to perfect one thing, one minute thing. So maybe the start of a weld. You'd have to do that for 10,000 hours to start your arc with a stick welder before you could do it perfectly per se. But it would have to be with the same rod, with the same material, in the same environment, or it wouldn't be perfect. So basically, anything you do in life and you set out to excel at or succeed at requires lots of repetition, lots of practice, and mostly lots of discipline on your part. I can't tell you how many times me as a music instructor for nearly a decade would be discussing a student's progress with a parent or with the student, or both, usually with both, and the student would not have an instrument at home. It is impossible for you to learn how to play an instrument by coming to see a music instructor for 30 minutes out of an entire week. It will not happen. It never happened. And I would always be telling them it doesn't have to be the best instrument, but there needs to be some sort of a drum set at home, or a piano at home, or a guitar at home, no matter what the kid was learning, or basically you were wasting your money and my time because there was going to be no progress and nobody would learn. And those students never did learn or never did progress when they wouldn't take that extra step to ensure that they were doing it not only 30 minutes with me once a week, but 30 minutes to an hour or more if you're serious every single day, and then coming and taking a 30-minute lesson with me and then continuing to play it all throughout the week. So it's just like anything. If you want to get good at it, you got to do it a lot, you got to be disciplined, and you got to practice perfect. I would always tell my students, pupils, whatever you want to call them, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that was my job as an instructor for all those years was to make sure that they were practicing correctly. Their form looked good, their transitions were good, how they were going about memorizing a song was coherent, and their form and their fingers were in the right spots, etc. This would save them from all the pitfalls that they could run into if they were practicing with a bad form or a bad transition technique, and then they'd have to go break their bad habit and then relearn it the correct way. And you know what the biggest reason is why you're not going to exceed and be a superstar welder that just lays down gorgeous, strong welds every single bead? It's because you're not going and liking that like button down below and hitting that subscribe button. If you would just do that, I guarantee you would be a better welder, and you will thank me for it later. Fast forward. I'm now in welding school, learning how to be a better welder and fabricator, more to the book, learning some of the science behind it, getting a welding tech degree, and so I could qualify to get my welding certifications to be a structural welder. I already, of course, was a professional welder, and the first day of class, I remember laying down a bead of 7018 that I didn't even work with that much, and the professor put it up on the board for everybody to see. One of those little tools they use in a classroom to blow up an image on the whiteboard or whatever. And that was the example of a perfect 7018 bead for the entire class. And everybody knew me in the class as the best welder by far because I was a welder. I was just there to get those pieces of paper to prove that I was a good welder, and again to learn some of the science and more sophisticated terms and techniques behind the art of welding, or the craft of welding more specifically. I was a really good MIG welder because that was something that we did a lot in the welding shop, and I could stick weld, but I didn't know how to TIG weld when I entered school, and that was one of the crafts that I learned and now that I can do as well. The guys in the welding school that did not have welders at home never really got better. Who knows what their average grade was at the end of the class, but I wouldn't have passed them as a welder. Who knows, seeing about welding, some of their welds just look terrible. And it's because they were lazy during the class, they weren't pushing themselves in welding nonstop, and they did not have a welder at home to practice every day of the week. I left welding class and I would go weld. Before welding class, I would be welding. So it didn't matter if I was in class or not in class, I was welding the entire time. And I had been welding years and years and years before going to welding school to get my certificates and my degree. So just so you know, if you are going to excel in something, if you're going to be a professional in something and succeed, you need to do it at the place of learning as well as at home or at the place of work. Because doing something for a couple hours, doing something for 30 minutes, you're not going to learn something. It has to be hours upon hours every single day for years, compounded upon years. And that's the only way that you're going to get good at something, including this new career that I'm embarking on. So I'm in real estate. If I do real estate a couple hours after work every single day, how good do you think that I'm going to be at real estate? Now, what if I do real estate until I go to bed at night and then over the weekends? How much better do you think I'm going to be at real estate than the real estate agent who takes off on the weekends and who clocks out at 5 and kicks his feet up on the couch? So it's just like anything in life. If you want to get good at something, if you want to get awesome at something, not just average, you know, your average bloke just working your 9 to 5, doing the bare minimum to get the paycheck, you need to put yourself and you need to be a professional in space. Let's rewind way back. I'm 14, in high school, and I would be practicing instruments for hours and hours a day. There was a couple days, probably more than a couple days, when I was practicing guitar for 6 hours straight. How could you do that, I asked? Well, it was commitment. That's all I did. It was school and it was practice instruments in my room. And whether it was keyboard or guitar or vocals, I loved to do it. I wanted to be good at it, and I would practice all the time, very hard, every single day. And that's how I was able to become a guitarist and a vocalist and play keyboard and piano well enough to instruct beginner lessons and eventually land my instructor job 4 years later, 5 years later, and be a somewhat of an expert in this space, especially when it comes to beginners. So let's loop it all the way back around to the topic and to the point of why I'm shooting this video right now, and it's starting to get very hot with all the lights and the air off so you can hear my audio clearly, and I'm in this suit that I don't want to sweat in. But anyway, let's wrap it all the way back around and summarize this. You need to get a welder and practice on it every single day for many hours a day to become a great welder. And in all the different types of welding, there's MIG, there's TIG, there's flux core, there's dual shield, there's stick welding. This kind of stuff does not happen overnight. You see in the movies, and you've grown up your whole life seeing, oh, natural savants at something. You know, this person, this character in this show is just too cool for school, and they're just naturally great at something, and everyone's amazed. That's not real life. Real life is that you have to work hard to be good at something and to succeed in something, and it's over a period of time being obsessed with this topic or being super disciplined at learning this craft or in this trade or this topic. So get out of your fog, get out of the idea that welding is going to be easy. Welding, you're going to be able to learn quickly. To be a quality welder, to be a fast welder, to be a welder that's skilled in many different forms of welding, it's going to take time. So this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. Buckle down, do your due diligence, and you're going to find that you're going to be the best welder in your shop before too long if you take this advice. I'm Matt Padlo. Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more videos like this.